Hello, and thank you for joining me here on the News Summary. I am Lisa Shatayeva. Stay with me and get on board with the latest news from Kazakhstan. Seasonal floods and rains have given the Kazakh authorities in different parts of the country lots to worry about and lots to work on in the past 2 weeks. The flood response measures are being taken by the local government agencies. They include people's evacuation in the affected areas, their relocation, financial and humanitarian assistance. This week, Atyrau regional authorities started payment of the financial assistance to some of the victims. In total, 11 housing monitoring committees have been set up in Atyrau. These committees are also working on the total estimation of the damage. A 3-month norm of precipitation fell within 30 hours in just 2 days in Atyrau. Numerous villages were flooded. More than 1,100 people were left without homes or had their houses partially inundated, according to the local administration's field reports. Several houses were completely destroyed. Many more have become unfit for living. 580 people were evacuated and lodged in the nearby schools. 660 people and 100 emergency cars were involved in pumping the water out. The number of people affected by rains and floods continues to grow as the humidity is destroying many of the mud brick houses.
The torrential rain flooded the city on May 12 and was a real trouble for the Atyrau's residents. The soil, consisting mostly of clay, certainly wasn't to their advantage. Due to the lack of a drainage system, the rainwater accumulated in the yards is destroying buildings and apartment complexes. Each day, the dampness level is climbing the walls higher and higher. 4 houses have been completely destroyed. Cracks are appearing on the walls of some other buildings. 580 people have been evacuated. Their properties are no longer good for living. They were placed in 4 schools and provided with food and medical care. As the scale of destruction increases, 1 more school will accommodate the victims. There are more than hundreds of pumps working around the clock. Even oil companies have been involved in pumping the water out. The aid also comes from Uralsk. 157 houses have been completely dried out. Nevertheless, hundreds are still flooded. The committees which inspect the damaged housing are operating on the spot, but short on time. To date, we have received more than 1,100 applications from the victims of the floods. 11 committees, which are divided into 11 groups, were created. 938 houses have already been tested. The regional administration assured that all the procedural issues will be completed on time. Funding is opening this week, and the victims will get money for the restoration of their houses.
The overall flood damage was estimated at 15 billion tenge only in the Karaganda region. The outburst of floods has lasted over 1 month, according to the Committee of Emergency Situations. The water caused considerable destruction in 4 villages. Emergency evaluation experts said 380 houses were in the state of emergency. 17 kilometers of roads and highways were flooded, according to the preliminary numbers. The region will require nearly 4 billion tenge to restore them. People from different parts of Kazakhstan have provided significant humanitarian assistance to the flood victims. According to the Red Crescent Society, victims received 231 tons of humanitarian assistance. The announced sum of the damage could rise further, say the local authorities.
Думаю, что будем еще изыскивать дополнительные средства, потому что сегодня ежедневно.
I think we will search for additional funding because the amount of damages is rising every day, including the houses that have not been evaluated as wrecked today might be so recognized a week later due to the constant change of weather conditions.
Допустим, в силу вот этого того, что погодные условия изменяются, оно может перейти в категорию аварийности.
Eastern Kazakhstan authorities have started restoring damaged areas. 20 regional settlements were affected by the floods in late April. 6 bridges and 11 kilometers of roads have been damaged. The Ziranovsky district has suffered the most significant damage, where 188 houses require renovation and 45 have to be reconstructed. The flood response campaign will cost the local authorities some 100 million tenge.
Our
application is being reviewed at the level of the Republican budget, where 200 million tenge is planned to be allocated for us. I think this money will be utilized for preventive measures since the ice has started melting on the mountains. Correspondingly, we need to get ready for the upcoming floods in 2015.
State of emergency has been declared in the Amangildi district of the Kostanay region. Local authorities have recorded a massive die-off of rare saiga antelopes listed in the Red Book. According to the latest figures, 27,680 animals were killed. Deputy Agriculture Minister Yerlan Nasambayev and the head of the Forestry and Wildlife Committee Baghdad Azbayev paid visit to the region to coordinate measures aimed at identifying the causes and eliminating the consequences of the emergency situation. The cause of Saiga antelope's mortality has not been established yet. However, authorities believe that an infection called pasteurellosis that attacks the circulatory system of the animal may have been one of the reasons.
We are facing a very difficult situation. However, we need to save the rest of the animals. In 2013, the number of dead Saiga antelopes reached 21,000. We were trying to restore the population of the animals using the funds allocated by the government.
President Nazarbayev sees the Kazakh capital as a financial hub of the Central Asia in the future. He shared his vision last Friday at the plenary session of the 8th Astana Economic Forum. The head of the state told the forum delegates how Kazakhstan is going to tackle the looming recession.
They say in Russian, the venue cannot be changed. International experts in the sphere of economics and finance consistently arrive to the capital of Kazakhstan every year. Among them, Nobel laureates, heads of world's largest holdings, researchers and analysts. And Nursultan Nazarbayev plays the key role in this expert community. President consistently addresses challenges that threaten the entire global economic system. We remember the time when politicians and scholars didn't see the previous crisis coming. Nobody expected it. Now we can think about the ways to prevent this in the future. And we, together with representatives of international scientific community, must find ways to save our countries and people from a possible future catastrophe. Some individuals in the audience even felt awkward after hearing such issues as corrosion of the international law, food deficit, and climate change. The world is to face tough times, but Kazakhstan is ready for the possible challenges and is acting ahead of the curve. The plan of nation has been developed with 100 concrete steps to be implemented in the nearest future. All efforts will be addressed to achieve positive results, and even the expo exhibition will be turned into an international financial center afterwards. We had long talks with the Dubai Center and agreed that we will transfer their legislation, economics and their methods to Kazakhstan. It will be based on the principle of the English law with a preferential tax regime and an independent financial court. We are confident that the Astana Financial Center will be the core of the financial infrastructure of Kazakhstan and, in the future also, will become the financial hub for the entire Central Asian region. And this is just the beginning. Kazakhstan will actively build roads, ports and new airports to become the heart of the new Silk Road, and it will be truly the driver of the economic growth.
Я предлагаю создать новый высокоскоростной мультимодальный транспортный маршрут.
I propose to create a new high-speed multimodal transport route, Eurasian Transcontinental Corridor. It will run through the whole country and allow the unimpeded transit of goods from Asia to Europe and back. This is much shorter than shipping via oceans. This corridor will give impetus to the development of production in all countries.
Это сближает наши народы, это создает безопасность, потому что нам всем выгодно безопасность, стабильность всех государств, через которые проходят эти трассы.
Nursultan Nazarbayev is known for his global ideas, and today was no exception. The president proposed to establish the joint Eurasian economic space, where all members will have some general rules in trade, transportation, and movement of resources. Certainly new proposals will emerge in the process, even disputes may arise. However, all such questions could be discussed at the Astana Economic Forum.
The economic events continued in Kazakhstan into this week with the visit of Lithuanian Prime Minister Algirdis Butkevičius. Kazakhstan is interested in setting up enterprises in Lithuania in order to export its products to Europe. The idea has been well received by the Lithuanian government, and during the meeting, the prime ministers of the two states have reached agreements as to how to deepen the trade relations. Kazakhstan is also interested in Lithuania's transport infrastructure as a transit territory in the EU, and therefore the Kazakh cabinet intends to establish unhindered delivery of goods from the Baltic country. Earlier, Lithuanian businessmen mentioned they were ready to provide their terminals for transport and offered services of northernmost ice-free port of Klaipėda. Last year, the trade turnover between the two countries reached $437 million.
I think we'll be able to work together to study the experience in small and medium business in Lithuania and the transference of this practice onto the territory of Kazakhstan. Also, on the participation of the Lithuanian companies in the infrastructure and industrial development in Kazakhstan and Kazakhstani companies with investments in Lithuania in special economic zones in order to be able to receive the label Made in the European Union.
A delegation of 200 people arrived in Astana last week together with the Lithuanian Prime Minister. The heads of the two governments signed a series of important agreements. One of them is on the mutual protection of classified information. Finally, Lithuanian Prime Minister invited the Kazakh counterpart to visit Vilnius. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development will continue to invest in projects aimed at the diversification of the Kazakh economy. This year's annual meeting of the EBRD's Board of Directors, held in Tbilisi, was titled Investing in the Name of Change. Finance Minister Bakat Sultanov headed the panel session on behalf of the Kazakh delegation. He mentioned the country's efforts to attract foreign investments. Kazakhstan is implementing some of its infrastructure and green energy projects jointly with the EBRD.
В настоящее время мы вместе с банком отрабатываем возможность реализации проекта по реконструкции.
Currently, we are working with the bank on the possibility to put the project on reconstruction of the runway and terminal of Astana Airport. This is a large project which is scheduled for implementation, and we are working on financing of this project together with the EBRD.
Прорабатываем вопросы финансирования этого проекта вместе с ЕБРР.
У нас работает сегодня соглашение по...
Today we have an agreement with 4 financial institutions. The 5th institute is the European Investment Bank, which has also joined us as a partner. On the whole, 13.5 billion will be invested by the multilateral financial institutions, plus our funding. This is a great list of the projects and, of course, an opportunity for new, very important projects.
Большой перечень проектов и, конечно же, поиск новых проектов очень важен.
Kazakhstan targets to diversify its economy and strengthen its institutions. Last week, the management of Kazakhstan's Development Bank told about the large-scale manufacturing projects financed by the state. According to them, 22 projects worth more than 17 billion tenge have already been financed by the National Fund. These projects include construction of new plants, purchase of manufacturing equipment, and modernization of the existing enterprises. In general, 100 billion tenge of the national funds were allocated to stimulate growth of manufacturing.
The first tranche will take place in December in the amount of 50 billion tenge. It will be directed at the implementation of new projects in 23 areas of the manufacturing industry. These projects have been announced and are being implemented. Those are the production of food, clothing, paper products, petroleum products, pharmaceuticals, and so on.
The Kazakh National Chamber of Entrepreneurs and international consulting firm McKinsey & Company are implementing a project called the National Champions. 32 Kazakh companies out of more than 300 applications have already been selected. Net income potential for further growth and ability to compete in the foreign markets were the crucial criteria in the selection process. The finalists will soon receive individual action plans outlining the recommendations of the international business consultants.
Not just one, but 32 companies, and this is just the beginning. They are all involved in manufacturing. 20 of them are working in agriculture, 7 in the engineering, and 5 produce building materials, although initially 300 entrepreneurs in total have filed their applications. Overall, 32 companies produce goods worth about 340 billion a year. Today, they export about 14% of production from Kazakhstan. It is about 45 billion tenge, and they employ 23,000 people. In fact, this program aims to continue to increase production to ensure that they have increased their exports, respectively. It will have an impact on employment and taxes, and the companies themselves will be able to become leaders within our Eurasian economic society. McKinsey & Company international experts have assisted in the project. They already have carefully evaluated the work of the first 2 companies, Ecotone and Galland's Butlers. We have started a detailed study of these companies. We plan to complete the work by early July. First, we will analyze their business plans and will explore the potential and opportunities of growth. Also, we will talk with the leadership in order to find out what difficulties they encounter. Ecotone's goal is to launch new products with the available capacities and then send it for export. The company manufactures aerocrete, a material which allows to give up most of the imported counterparts and produce construction materials here in Kazakhstan.
Самая большая ценность, конечно, это
The structured advices and suggestions given by representatives of both Atyrau and Mackenzie are the most valuable for us, in particular such business advices as how to organize an office or how to sell. Unfortunately, production workers do not have such knowledge. By the way, advices and suggestions from the international experts are not the only rewards for the national companies. In addition, they will be financially supported by the national holding Atyrau, and as reported by its chairman of the board, it is planned to expand the program. Next year, they will choose new companies in the manufacturing industry.
Kazakhstan has started reforming its judicial system. The head of state has repeatedly brought the need for judicial system reform into the light and included the necessary changes in the 100 steps of implementing 5 institutional reforms. This government intends to impose more stringent requirements to the disciplines of justice. According to the legislators, selection of the applicants for the judicial mandate will become stricter. The study programs for law clerks and future judges will be expanded with more emphasis on practical training. Particular attention will be paid for those who study with honors. In order to receive a master's degree with the Supreme Court training program, the future judges will study up to 1 year. Current training program is designed for only 3 months. A special academy will offer a comprehensive master's program. The teaching staff will include some of the top professional judges.
We tighten
the requirements so the judges would be obliged to work 5 years after the appointment to avoid easy resignations after getting all the perks from the states. If they do not want to work, then they have to return the money that the government spent on them previously.
Astana will soon introduce unified residence cards. The project will be implemented by Astana Innovations Company. The new card will give access for its holders to all the services of the city, including social services. The project involves such sectors as utility bills, smart school, smart transportation, smart hospitals, smart municipal or urban engineering, and smart parking. In particular, the residence card holders will be able to pay their utility bills online.
В этом году мы хотим пойти еще дальше. Это внедрить так называемые электронные столовые.
This year we want to introduce electronic canteens. The system works ideally for school children, so to avoid carrying cash on them. They will use plastic cards with cash balance to purchase food. We introduced the system in the frame of the smart utility bills. With this card, parents will be able to monitor products which are suitable for their children.
In addition, digital security systems have been introduced in 17 schools of the capital. Children can only enter buildings by swiping special cards to pass through turnstiles. Parents receive text messages with data on when their children entered and left school. This will help parents to monitor their children's school attendance. The number of car owners willing to convert their vehicles to natural gas consumption is growing. Last year, nearly 15,000 Kazakh motorists have installed gas engines. The number of cars running on gas is growing every year.
Asylbek Omarbayev has converted his SUV from gasoline to natural gas. Previously, he spent 3,000 tenge on fuel a day, now less than half of that amount. Besides saving cash, there are environmental benefits, the motorist says. Living in Astana and taking into account traffic jams, we need to save. It is such a major factor. The service center for the conversion from gasoline to gas is busy every day. There's always long lines. 3 cars can be converted to gas in 1 shift. The service costs about 160,000 tenge. However, the car owners always have a choice, since gasoline engine remains to be very popular. Service center staff notes that even a jump in gas prices will not be reflected in this business. After all, the number of those wishing to drive more and pay less is growing. There's a need to expand the business, and we will do it. We have 2 such service centers in Astana. We also plan to open centers in the regions. Today, about 15,000 cars out of more than 4 million vehicles use gas in Kazakhstan. The main thing is to have enough gas stations, the gas vehicles drivers say. Experts forecast that within 3 years, nearly 55,000 vehicles across the country will switch to gas.
Eco-friendly transportation is gaining momentum too, namely cycling is becoming more and more popular. Professional cyclists and enthusiasts often organize mass bike rides in Astana. The most recent event was devoted to President Nazarbayev's victory in the snap presidential election and to the start of the new youth championship in Kazakhstan. Roughly 100 cyclists have applied to participate in the ride. The cycling route laid between Saltanat Saraya Wedding Hall and Sararka cycle track.
Today's event was very positive. It was held to support President Nazarbayev's victory in election. He's a worthy leader. We came to sincerely support him first of all, and of course, we are all for the healthy lifestyle.
A horse racing season has kicked off in Pavlodar. A new modern sports facility has been launched recently. Fascinating equestrian events took place last week at the new racetrack. The tournament was held to mark the 550th anniversary of the Kazakh Khanate.
About 60 best racing horses have been delivered from different regions of Kazakhstan and Russia to Pavlodar. The grand opening of Kulager race course was the start of horse riding competition. The competition was held in 6 distances. The prize fund included 4 cars. For the first time in the history of Kazakhstan, the season of horse riding competition will be held twice in 1 month. Therefore, many horse owners come here and keep their horses here too. Therefore, it will be very interesting to see the development of this type of sport, particularly in Pavlodar. It took 2 years to build the new racetrack. It cost 256 million tenge. Funds have been provided by sponsors. The track can accommodate up to 2,400 people at once. It is planned to launch the racetrack in full-time mode. Even when there are no competitions, horses will be rented for riding. Families could come and spend their leisure here. There will be training lessons as well. The schedule has been already planned for the year ahead. It is also planned to hold 24 equestrian competitions. As expected, in total 28 cars will be awarded to winners. A stallion named Beatrice has already won the prize. The stallion was born in 2012. He has won this prize on UW distance. He has a good career for a 2-year-old. Competitions were held in Kunan Baiga at a distance of 4 kilometers, Alaman Baiga 16 kilometers, and Tog Baiga with a track length of 10 kilometers. There were short distance races in between, in particular at 1,000, 1,600 and 2,000 meters.
Last week, Nursultan Nazarbayev was awarded a special prize at the international conference in Ankara dedicated to the 550th anniversary of the Kazakh Khanate. A special gift in the form of a rock displaying teachings of ancient Turkic leaders Tonnikok and Kultegin, found on the banks of the Orkhon River, was gifted to the Kazakh president. The Turkic Academy members and scientists have devoted a series of scientific reports reflecting important historical landmarks in the history of Kazakhstan.
Nursultan Nazarbayev, the leader of all Turkic countries, his contribution to the scientific and cultural integration of the brotherly peoples is priceless. Such important organizations as the Turkic Council, Turkic Academy and Council of Elders, which are now operating successfully, were established due to the immediate initiative of the President of Kazakhstan.
Feature film titled Kunanbay has been premiered in Astana. It recounts the story of Kunanbay, legendary poet and writer Abay's father. Kunanbay was a famous and tough-tempered judge. He and his younger son Ibrahim, commonly known as Abay, a great Kazakh poet, composer and philosopher, had a complex father and son relationship. The main character was portrayed by people's artist of Kazakhstan, Dostkhan Zholzhakhsynov, who also directed the film. The filmmakers tried to convey the atmosphere of the 19th century through accurately chosen costumes and preps. However, it's the actors' accents and language that have created the proper feel of the past. Most of the filming took place in Kunanbay's homeland, Karaul village near Semey. Before filming had started, the film crew visited Kunanbay's grave to venerate his spirit. Many of the locals took part as extras. The film's budget was $4 million. Its wide release is scheduled after May 25th. According to the Kazakh Film Studio, the film may come out with the Russian and English subtitles.
Его немного приземлили. Это Кунанбай, который не только власть стоит.
In the film, we showed Kunanbay as a father, a person of power and law. We decided to go a little different way when shooting the film about this historical individual. The focus was made on Great Mukhtar Awezov and The Path of Abay book. We tried to show Kunanbay as a person through his relations between relatives, friends, and other people.
7 лет работали. Мы перелопатили много в архиве, читали много. Без этого невозможно было.
These were the main news from Kazakhstan for the past week. Thank you for staying with me. Goodbye.